Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon or good evening. Who knows? Wherever you are, sending some warm greetings here from Mauritius. This morning, I would like to talk to you more about emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, or they refer to it also as EQ, it's actually a very beneficial tool for change management. And that's really something that I have found true value in. So I feel passionate about emotional intelligence, and I would like to share more with you on this topic. I will share more about my own experience, how it influenced my own life, my direction, my change journey. I will also talk through the emotional intelligence model as set up or provided by EQ World. Yeah, and then I'll just conclude. Along the way, you might find some anecdotes from myself. I have worked with emotional intelligence for quite a while. I first got into contact with this at an introduction by EQ World, Granville de Souza. Back in the day, he just did a very short overview of the emotional intelligence model. And even then, it touched me. It was really for me like a curiosity that was born to find out more, to try and see how this can benefit me. How can this benefit me as a leader? How can I use the emotional intelligence model to lead my team? So my change story started exactly there when I actually got into contact with emotional intelligence. And I'll tell you my version or my change happened really when I understood my purpose. And the purpose, as you will see shortly, is at the core of the emotional intelligence model. And I was really reflecting on what is it that I would like to contribute to this world? What is the legacy that I would like to leave behind? And in that process of discovery, I actually found that I was able to make important decisions and, for steering my life. In my case, I actually decided to give up on a relationship that I felt was not conducive and not in line with my purpose and fulfilling my purpose. And even though it was a very tough decision, it's never easy to walk away from a relationship. I know that where I am today is in direct correlation to that decision I made. So, yeah, so I want to maybe just a word of encouragement. Change is never easy. Change is, however, the only way forward if we would like to become the version that we would like to be. And actually, I call this self-mastery. My model or my how I describe it is that through incremental small changes, I become more and more the version of me, and that is self-mastery. So I would like to share with you this model and talk you through this. Hey, so what you can see here is the emotional intelligence competency framework. I already gave credit to EQ World. You can easily Google this. There is an assessment tool associated with this model. And I would highly encourage you to take this and to see where you are with each of these competencies. I already touched on the core. At the core, we have purpose. I will just say, highlight again the very famous quote from Viktor Frankl, who said, if you have a strong enough why, you can bear almost anyhow. It's even more significant if you look at Viktor Frankl's story, that he was a Holocaust survivor, as kind of psychologist, I think, for that time. And he found that even though he was going through the valley of death in that concentration camp, he realized that there was one thing that they couldn't take away from him, and that was his mind, his ability to make decisions about how he feels about things. And he had a very strong purpose. He was living and staying alive for his family, not even knowing if they were alive. So that is the core of the model purpose. I would also like to share with you, I do see my own purpose as being, I say I'm the unwavering sun, awakening people to their purpose. It's a big word, purpose. If I talk to clients and people, everyday people around me, I say, what is important to you? What is it that you would like to do that gives you meaning? So that is a way to look at that. There's very good resources out there on this. For me, one of the most enlightening was Oprah's book about purpose, and she put together like a very nice assembly of interviews that she had over the years with some influential psychologists and self-help entrepreneurs, etc. And it's a wonderful look into purpose and how it can change across, as we progress in our lives. So I can highly encourage you. There's also to read this or to listen to this. There's also some exercises that you can do. One of the most famous, I believe, is to really just imagine that you have come to the end of your life, and who is at your side at the coffin. I know it sounds a bit macabre, but at the end of the day, it's a really good way to just imagine, how would you like people to remember you, especially your loved ones, your friends, your family, and the people that you care for. The rest of the model, how you should look at it, is that the inner core is our relationship with ourselves. The outer circle is our interpersonal relationships or intra relationships. In other words, with our family, with our friends, with our colleagues. I will just go through each of the competencies one by one and shed a bit of information or light on them so that you have just a glimpse of some of these competencies and the significance. I will start with consciousness. Another word for that would be self-awareness. Now, that is very important when it comes to change. I don't know if you've ever heard about Johari's window, but if you just imagine that there's always, if you look at yourself in the mirror, right? Like I'm looking at the screen at the moment and at the camera, there's always a part of us that we can't see. I don't know how my hair looks at the back. I don't know, sometimes you see people walking around and maybe you actually tell yourself, have this person looked in the mirror before they stepped out that day? So that's maybe not such a kind thing to say, but nevertheless, Johari's window is about recognizing that there's parts of us, so-called blind spots, that we're not aware of. Now, self-awareness, it is really important to be able to recognize what is the impact that we're having with our actions. And I have told this story many times, but I really, it took me quite a while to recognize that there is a pattern or certain patterns in my life that has an impact on the people around me that I was not aware of. And that really changed for me when I started understanding more and got to know more about the emotional intelligence model. So self-awareness is incredibly important. I am very sure if I challenge you to think of someone in your life, or at work, or in your home, that you would recognize if there's someone that's not living with self-awareness about themselves, that they are doing things that hurt people around them, but they are not aware of it. And I mean, I don't have to, what more can I say? It hurt, it's not that we want to hurt people. So obviously, self-awareness goes a very long way in terms of relating to others. And it starts with us. It starts with being aware. Now, just a few tools, perhaps, tools that I use to help me to be more conscious about the actions that I take and the consequences is literally reflection. I built in a weekly time for reflection, and I just use very easy questions. I ask myself what went particularly well, what am I really proud of for this week? What went generally well? And then I really look at things that didn't feel well, that didn't sit well with me, interactions that I thought that could have gone better. I start with those areas, and then I look at, I call it perspective. And I kind of just look at it like, how could I have improved this? Is there a different angle I could have taken? If I encounter a similar situation, what would I do? So that is about consciousness. That's one of the tools that I use. Meditation helps a lot as well. Every time that I meditate, there is definitely an element of reflection. It's like tuning into my body, feeling what is going well and what is not going well. And I'm just going to jump out of the framework. I'm pretty sure that you had a very good view of this, because I would just like to be able to talk to you so that you can see me clearly and that you don't have to squint. So the next element of or competency that I would like to talk a bit more about is optimism. Now, then before I go on, I just want to say, if you kind of starting to think, oh my goodness, I wasn't born with optimism, so that means I'll never, what am I going to do about it? This is something that's missing, and what can I do? Well, the good news is that for each of the competencies that I share with you today, this is a learnable skill. And that's also why I'm sharing with you some ideas about how to practice or how to get into more detail with each of these competencies. So optimism is also a very good example of one of those competencies that you can learn. Optimism. You don't believe me? If you knew me at least 10 or 12 years ago, you would not have believed that the person that's talking to you today is the same person. Even though I believe, and most people now do comment on my general sense of optimism, I really went through quite a dark time before I actually got to this state of general optimism. And what helped for me is actually someone that I interacted with that was trying to help me. You find these kind souls that cross your path, and people are generally trying to help us to improve, to find our groove. And this person just, I could tell that this person was lost for words, because generally whatever I was telling this person was kind of quite negative. And it was really inert. It was, everyone else's problem. people around me was not doing what they should be doing. Of course, it was not my fault, but this person just pointed me in the right direction by telling me to look for the butterflies. And I'll be very honest with you. I did a double take and I kind of thought, that's a weird request. I mean, I thought that this person would actually give me some advice to turn this around. And this person is telling me to look for butterflies. And I have to be honest, I was also quite skeptical about this. However, to my real surprise, the moment that I started focusing on looking for butterflies, I honestly didn't think that there was a lot of butterflies in Singapore. For those of you who has visited or know Singapore, it's quite a populated city and it's quite built up. Yes, we have gardens, but honestly, there's not too much living things moving around after all the pest control. And I mean, you have to struggle to find an ant. So big was my surprise that when I started to look for butterflies, they started to appear everywhere. 10 years later, I still see butterflies at least once a day, if not more than once. And sometimes they even appear in non-living form by what people are wearing, seeing a butterfly in someone's bag, you name it. So yeah, so optimism, what you focus on, you will attract. One of the tools I would recommend for optimism is actually to set intentions for your day, every day, looking at your schedule, knowing what is the demands on your day to set an intention for your day. For example, to be confident, courageous, maybe even to have some self-awareness, to tune into your body. So that's one of the things that I would recommend. Another tool that I would use and that I am actively using is also to have affirmations. That really could be a very good source to help you to keep being optimistic. For example, I am safe and I am well. That's a very famous self-affirmation by Louise Hayes, the mother of affirmations. I would like to move on to the next competency. I would like to keep this to about half an hour, and I would like to keep your attention. The next tool or competency is self-efficacy. Self-efficacy just means to be able to follow through on the goals that you have. What I could recommend for that is also a daily practice of making sure what is it that you would like to achieve today. I actually have a list of top goals and I limit them to 3, sometimes 1. For me, it's important to be able to keep motivated, and I easily get overwhelmed if I have too many items on my list. The important thing here is to keep your goals in mind and to stay the course. The last competency when it comes to our self is emotional management. You see, I saved the best for last. There's really quite a lot that I can say on this topic. I would like to limit it maybe just to the following. What is important about emotional management? I would like to, again, let you think of an example, either at work, in your personal life, wherever you are, maybe with friends, and just think of one occasion where someone at work, a friend, or someone close to you maybe lost their temper. Normally, the accompanying thoughts and feelings and the repercussions are high. The impact of losing maybe you can even think of a situation where you lost your cool. There is no place for losing your emotions at work. At home, plenty of opportunity. Obviously, the impact will still be the same. Sometimes, in some cases, most cases, even it has a much bigger impact within our closed circle. But at work, there is absolutely no space for that. So, what does emotional management means? I would like to highlight the difference between reaction and response. Reaction is exactly what the word says. It is reactionary. So if someone are challenging you in the moment and you choose to react, that would be a reaction. We are not living in a perfect world. That does happen from day to day. The focus should be, though, on developing, tuning in to your own emotions, understanding yourself to the extent that you can realize and learn how to not react, but respond. I think I will use the following example. This is probably a very relatable example for most of you that's listening. How many times have you received emails at work mostly where you really got upset? You got on your high horse and you were typing a response at top speed, putting in everything that you want to say to that person, only to send that email and regret that. Now, that is a perfect example of the difference between reaction and response. The aim would be to train yourself, right, and take the proverbial 10 counts, as our mothers used to tell us when we were little, and to actually compose yourself and think, okay, how would I like to respond to the situation? And you know, Viktor Frankl, he was also, I believe it's him, or is it? Let me rather just say there is a quote that I'm thinking about. I'm not entirely sure. I would rather not make a mistake. But what the quote is saying is, between stimulus and response, there is a pause. Yeah, and that you are in charge of being able to take a step back and deciding how you would like to respond. I really do have a lot of information on emotional management. Hint, that was a very big competency for me to learn about, to read about, to educate myself, to actually build this skill. And I'll be, again, very honest. As you can tell, I'm a very honest person. Actually, even today, every day, I am still actively working and practicing this emotional management skill. What I can say is that there's no shortage of opportunities to work on this. All right, but we have 5 minutes left, and I would like to cover off the last 4 items. So now we're moving to the outer core, or from the core to the outer layer. And the competency that I would like to start with there is trust. Now, again, just keep in mind that these competencies are learnable skills. So first you do your assessment and assess, where are you? Are you skilled or are you unskilled? Or sometimes you can even be overskilled. That's actually a very good point. And I will use this for the trust competency. I believe I was overskilled for trust. What does that mean? I trusted people too much. Now, is that a flaw? Maybe not. But what is the point? The point is I'm aware of it. And with self-awareness, you can make changes. So I have learned through the years how important it is to regulate our trust and to build trust over time. Trust is very important for our relationships, our interpersonal relationships. In fact, again, I would like to challenge you. I love to challenge. I would like to challenge you. Do you believe that there can be any relationship without a foundation of trust? I'd like you to think about it and maybe to reflect on this. I would also like you to really look at your relationship with trust. Do you give people trust? And does people trust you? Both are very important. And it's a very good starting point when you look at relationships and potentially why you are experiencing relationships that, according to you, might not be optimal or working. Next competency, empathy. The mother of that taught me more about this is Dr. Brené Brown. And she talks really about, maybe just for a comparison, she talks about the difference between sympathy and empathy. And sympathy is really just noticing and observing that someone might be in a difficult position. The difference between sympathy and empathy is, for empathy, I'm pretty sure if you haven't heard this before, then I'd be very surprised. Empathy, you describe this as putting yourself in someone else's shoes. I don't know if you can recall when you were little and you maybe try to put on the shoes of your mom and your dad. I hope this brings a smile to your face. Now, empathy really means when you interact with people to actually actively have this outlook, this affirmation, this attitude to know that when you look at anyone, you don't know what battles they might be fighting. And having empathy and the general attitude of not knowing what someone else is going through goes a long way in terms of relationships and cutting people some slack. Do that today. The third competency for interpersonal relationships is connection. Now, building connection, what I would highlight as a tool for building connection is to ask deep questions. I know this could be challenging for people to do that. Of course, this will also directly relate to the level of trust that you will have with someone. If you would like to improve your connection to people, look at the questions that you ask them, and don't forget, if you are able to be vulnerable with the people that are close to you, that builds connection like this. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Last but not least is influence. This is the last competency that we will talk about today. And also that the one that I would like to highlight, especially for people that think that technical skills will take them to the next level in their career. That couldn't be more wrong. I'm not saying you don't need technical skills. However, if you miss out the important part about influencing, then you might never make it to that level in your career that you wanted to. And on that high note, I will leave you today. So wrapping up, I will flash the model again. This is our emotional intelligence model. I hope you really enjoyed our conversation. If you would like to take the assessment, you can Google EQ World and even better, just reach out to me and I will send you the link and you can take the overview, the assessment, and I can help you to work through the assessment results. I am Karen Skimby. I am a ICF ACC accredited coach. Emotional intelligence is really close to my heart because I really saw the change that it brought in my life. I actively use these competencies every day. And if you enjoyed this, or if you would like to talk more about this, please contact me at kskumbi@gmail.com or look me up on LinkedIn. Everything that you need is right there. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.